美国是个移民国家，在纽约这座城市，有1/4的居民是移民，近1/5的居民是父母中至少有一个人是移民的美国本土公民。外国出生的纽约人对这座城市的经济做出了巨大贡献。近几年来，美国社会各阶层矛盾冲突不断，各种游行示威爆发。最近几个月，亚裔在美国不断受到恶意攻击。一向被视为沉默寡言、埋头苦干的亚裔，这一次选择站出来，维护自身的权利。
Asian Americans like me who have been nice and suffering for too long are coming together and becoming a force that will fight against racism, injustice, and violence.
欢迎收看《纽约来函》，我是王梦玉。今天请到了几位嘉宾加入我们的讨论，他们是林海安律师，美国联邦法院注册律师，美国维斯特菲尔德州立大学亚洲研究客座教授，美国法学博士；岳彩伦，旅美男中音歌唱家、声乐教授；陈秋慧，联合国代表及首席行政官，亲爱教育基金会；梁瑞思，伦敦商学院中国协会副主席； Christina Hallett， 委员会认证的临床心理学家，Bay Path 大学副教授。A good weekend morning. Thank you for joining me, my distinguished guests. First of all, tell us, what happened in United States? What is Stop Asian Hate? Professor Yue, do you want to be the first?
Yes, be glad to. Thank you for the question. The situation today in the United States, especially for the last month or so, really brings us such very, very serious thought. Being an Asian American, being Chinese American in this country, there's so many different stuff going on, including, of course, a lot of successful people who are working so hard, making great contribution to this great country. But also, in the meantime, we have been being thought or being treated unfairly, not for the entire country, but a lot of places or different regions. So for that matter, I start to think this is something is long overdue for us to stand up, to speak up, and to really think there's something as citizens, as human beings, we need to respect each other, no matter your race, no matter your beliefs, no matter what you want. I mean, like food, culture, language, we all need to stand up together against the hatred, against people who are using this as a excuse to really find the way they are trying to get rid of, because the color of our skin and also the way we talk. So make people to believe that we are different. We are actually no different from any other races. We're human, we're well behaved, and we're mostly highly educated and following the law and order. So I think this is the moment we need to really stand up and speaking loud against the hatred, and to be a good, honored, great citizen. Thank you.
I just want to add to what Professor Yue just said. So providing some data on this. So hate crimes targeting Asian Americans spiked by 150% in majority of the major US cities. There were 3,800 anti-Asian racist incidents, most against women in past year. According to the data, Asian women report hate incidents 2.3 times more than men. Now the protesters rally around the country to stop Asian hate.
Yes, I remember like 10 years ago, I first come here as an international student. I have been never imaged will be faced about these issues currently in the United States. Feel very sad about this.
Yeah, another point I'd like to add is that probably this is the very first time in US history that the whole Asian community realize this is wrong, and we need to speak out and we need to stand up. And so that's important when we are in this battle against hate against any race. And of course, in this case, especially the Asian Americans and Chinese Americans.
So much that the rest of us need to speak up as allies, right? And that's part of what my role is, and within my community, is to stand with all Asian American people and say, this is not okay.
You know, one thing that Hai mentioned as well as Professor Yue is this idea that it's also touching upon so many different communities in the US. So I know that last Saturday, there was about 60 some protests all across the United States, you know, stretching out through the week and into this weekend. You know, from my own personal anecdote, my father and my sister spoke at a rally last weekend in Amherst, Massachusetts. And, you know, at first, I think there is a bit of, when I saw the video, I was actually a bit surprised and even horrified. You begin to think, you know, how is this going to impact their life? How is this going to impact, you know, kind of our way of life? But, you know, as those thoughts and emotions kind of subside, you recognize that, you know, I was incredibly proud of them. They're dispelling these stereotypes that are really kind of present in the US system. And they're really coming out, and Asian Americans are, you know, finding and recognizing their voice. And so this idea that there is tremendous power in the collective, and this idea that the kind of Stop Asian Hate protest has really touched, you know, every corner of America, and is very close to home for me personally as well.
And I just jump in for a few more thoughts. I think this is more like an educational process, both for Asian Americans and for all Americans, because we need to have a very good common knowledge about how to respect, how to really make sure that the world is going to be peaceful. And I think, you know, I'm teaching in college. So I meet students daily, obviously. I do have about 12 international students. They came to me, express certain degree of fear or concern or worries every single day, because most of them are living outside of campus, in an apartment building surroundings. So they always heard people who are saying something very unpleasant, racially related phrases. So they're very worried about going out, even going out as a group. So I find this is, you know, actually I even escort some of the students going home or going to the grocery shopping during the day. So that's something totally unacceptable. I don't think that's going to be the life we're going to live every single day. And so that's something I find it's very important to really get everyone educated. And we're all supposed to be the same. We are friends.
So due to the current situation, do you feel that's safe when you go outside as an Asian American race?
Yeah, you know, I'm going to take a relatively controversial stance on this, and I'll explain myself, but I do feel safe. I do feel safe. However, I recognize that not everybody shares the same experience that I do. You know, I'm a male, I'm young, I'm physically large, I'm an urban professional. I'm not necessarily representative of those that have been harmed. What I will say is that because of this, it's actually easy for me to disassociate sometimes from the situation. It takes active effort to empathize and understand. And that's certainly kind of a call to the community. And I'm so glad to hear that kind of individuals like Dr. Christina are taking a lead in her community to kind of rally behind the Asian American community. You know, that said, I have experienced discrimination for being Asian. This is a reality. There's the blatant and then there's the subtle. I think the undercurrents actually tend to be even more harmful. The thoughts that kind of remain unchecked. So when people look at Asians, they might think, you know, this person is weak or uncivilized. But most importantly, if I'm to be entirely honest, it's actually catching myself when I look at someone of a different race and think those very same thoughts. You know, revisiting this idea of safety, What's concerning is the recent increase in anti-Asian crimes, especially over the last 4 to 5 years, even when hate crimes overall are declining. So between 2019 and 2020, there's actually a 7% decrease in overall hate crimes, despite an increase in crimes against Asians. So that's just not a direction we want to be moving in as a country. So I feel safe now. But whether I'll feel safe in 5 years, in 10 years down the line, also a very important question.
Yeah, I think let me jump into with my 2 cents on this topic. Yeah, it's not an easy yes or no question, and also we're not only talking about the physically and also mentally. Let me tell you I share a small story. It just happened a couple of weeks ago. That's in my peaceful little town, and it's a doctor and who is a 3rd generation of Chinese dissident, and he was driving a car with his wife, also a 3rd generation of Chinese, and with their 2 children. And at the traffic light, a guy drove by and shouted, "Thank you very much for the COVID." And so that's, I never thought, because he's a close friend, and we were living in this. Normally, people would thought such a thing would never happen to people like us, but it's not far away from us. Meaning that type of hate-based discrimination or activity is not far away, and it's right next to us. So that's why I think today people, even many professionals, feel it's the discrimination, any type, visible or invisible, and let alone all those violence. It's there, and we have to recognize them and to know we have to do something about it.
Yeah, so as a woman, so as I mentioned that this hate crime, all those people they're targeting at women and the elder. So that is all the instances you see lately. And in the social media, I think we all see that. So I think, do we worry? Yes. That's creating a lot of fear, anxiety, and anger. So I think that is something we have to stop it.
就在我们采访的同时，纽约在复活节当天爆发了近些年来最大规模的反亚裔歧视聚会，据组织者统计，有好几万人参与。在下期的节目中，我们会着重讨论美国政府应该如何应对目前的种族问题，尤其是亚裔歧视的问题。从心理学的层面，美国亚裔怎么保护自己，以及我们怎么生活在没有恐惧的环境中。我们下期节目见。